Oil spill.
Heavy metals,
Mm-hmm.
then the plants we actually grow organically. So anything we do to the water, we have to make sure it's going to protect the fish. So that way we have a very clean product on both ends, and we're also not putting environmental pollutants, because a waste product that goes into the environment irresponsibly, it becomes a pollutant. But there really shouldn't be a waste in most of our ventures. We should be able to use a waste product as a resource for something else.
Listen, Miles,
That's what we do with aquaponics.
tell us about the new form of cheap, highly sustainable energy that you're currently into, that you're so excited about. That's why one of the biggest reasons I had you visit us today via phone, because I know you're working at Chicago State University installing one of the systems that you
That's right.
build for them.
I'm actually here at Chicago State right now, and where we're putting in an aquaponics project right here. And but one of the things we're so excited about is a new form of power generation, and it's not super new, but it is the refinement of this whole process is new, and that's where they take a carbon source such as pelleted sawdust or pelleted wood, or it could be other things, and they get the temperatures up, and this is able to bring the temperatures up to over 3,500 degrees. And then what happens is they start adding water, and they have a process for ionizing the water. And when you ionize water, you break the hydrogen molecules away from the oxygen molecules, and hydrogen is very volatile. It burns very quickly. Oxygen also burns. So in essence, we're able to bring the carbon source that we're using to burn almost to a standstill, where we don't have to even use it. It helps to help us get it up to temperature, but once we're there, we can go down to where we're only burning about 20% of the time we're burning a carbon source, and the rest of the time we're actually burning water.
Dave's raising his eyebrows on that one, and I really was excited to have you listen to Miles talk about this, because beside the Aqua Ranch systems that Miles, like the one he's installing at Chicago State University, and when we had the meeting with him that time, I really strongly think that this could help Elgin not only create jobs, but regenerate some economic stimulus here, because everybody needs it, and the food doesn't have to travel far, and there's just an entire chain of events that would benefit Elgin as far as economically creating jobs and like that. And so that's why I wanted to put the two of you together again today, because I want you to get really excited about this.
Well, that's one of the keys of sustainability is to become independent, and as independent as you can. You know, you never are totally independent in this day and age. We rely on others, but sustainability as a community, that's certainly part of it. And as you know, I was in a previous life, I was a chemist.
That's why I see you. Miles is talking about separating the this from the that, and your eyebrows. He was hanging on every word,
well,
Miles.
I was, and I was.
I could tell.
And you can. It's been done in the past. They used electricity to do that.
Right.
And
exactly.
It's.
They haven't been able to do it where there was enough energy coming out of it to make it worth doing.
That's correct.
Now
right.
they've got that process down. And in fact, I'd like to organize a tour at some time with some of you folks, so that we actually go and see one within the next couple of weeks. That's possible to actually see the unit in action.
How much advance notice do you guys need, Dave, you and some of your associates, your colleagues, that you could... Miles, where would they have to go for a tour?
It's actually in Indiana. It's south of Indiana is where it's south of Gary, south of Gary.
That's not that far. Take the
That's,
Skyway.
No,
Two of us can go anywhere at any time, but once you get over two, then it becomes a public meeting,
Yeah.
and you can't do that.
No kidding.
It has to be public notice.
Can Siggy and I come? Because I would love to see Siggy get involved in this, because this is like right up her alley. She could get her
As long
chops
as you're
into
not
this.
council people.
She's not council people. Oh, only two council people, no more. If it's three, it's a public meeting.
That's right.
And what do they call it, sunshine law in Florida or something like that? I forget.
And I think it's more because bad ideas start happening.
Got to keep things on the up
Right.
and up. Here's what I know for sure. Because of the recent oil spill in the Gulf, which was, I think, 6 weeks ago yesterday, we have to find other ways to power ourselves. And so when I hear Miles talk about these things, and I know because of your chemistry background and everything, and because you have already met Miles and you know what his program and his system is about, I felt that this would be something really up your alley.
Well, I think one of the things that not saying that the current oil problems that we're having in the Gulf of Mexico, you have to look at these things that it makes people take a different look and go back and revisit what we do. Do we want to keep drilling like we're doing?
No, not
And,
anymore.
It makes everything becomes, and this has always been my philosophy, everything will become cost effective someday. Almost all ideas that you put out there, it all depends on the circumstances around you.
I think some of the circumstances too, though, is you have to overcome politics to get some things really moving.
Well, that's true. And what's interesting with this new process, realize that most of our electricity is produced in this nation by coal. The next thing is atomic energy. This process is competitive with coal. And so as soon as it's competitive with coal, it's competitive on the market. And that's the beauty of this whole program.
And we've had discussions about nuclear power, and in fact, my wife and I just had this discussion not too long ago that if you want to, it depends on the rate at which you want to convert. And to look at the millions of homes in the United States, to think that we're going to put a solar panel on the roof of each one and supply the power is not something that's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years.
That's true. I'm afraid it's still inefficient.
However, you can convert to nuclear, and by the time you build a nuclear reactor, the system to move electrons is still in place, and that's really what the transmission system is, what really is the weak link now for everybody. And how do we get electricity into the studio here?
We centralized all of our electrical power generation process. And what this process does is it allows us to be able to decentralize it so that you can have each building actually run on its own power source at a rate that's comparable to the coal that's presently being done. And then when there's a power outage, you're not necessarily out. Instead of 10 million people being out if something is knocked out.
Also, too, a few weeks ago when I had the David Wayne on from the Zeitgeist Movement, and we might not all agree with the Zeitgeist Movement 100%, but what I do agree with them is on their environmental stance. And I can't find my notes right now to cite the statistics, but there's wind power, wave power, tidal power, and geothermal. And then George reminded us that Sherman Hospital has the largest geothermal lake, in the country. And so those are other things that we could look at that are far less expensive to implement and to kick into gear than oil, coal, etc.
Right.
And I think we're overlooking that stuff also.
And I think we start to look at alternatives, alternative energy sources, and part of our sustainability effort in Elgin is to look at it from both ways. We need people to cut back on what we do, use less power, and then it makes things become
How do we use less power?
More practical. It's amazing how much power a television set, say a new plasma television set, probably takes as much power as the entire rest of your house.
And I think
so. We have to look at those things, and is it worth it to
does?
us to do that? Yeah,
No kidding.
it takes a tremendous amount of power, and the computers that stay on take a lot of power. And air conditioning.
Toasters, everything that stays on takes power.
Everything everything became. We put these little clocks on everything now, so we all know the time, and those things take power. Just that our power consumption went up dramatically in the last 20 or 30 years, and that has become a problem for us. And it not that it's all driven by oil, but it is driven by coal. and
Close
oil
relatives.
industries. And, yeah, and our cars, and we're trying to make people become more pedestrian, so that we give them, but we need to go back and revisit, and we started to talk about doing these things in Elgin, that we need to revisit our road system. And the amazing thing to me is that we're going back and investing in concepts that were very popular 60 and 70 years ago, and they worked then. And we're going back and looking at the way we design roads and say, well, gee, those guys were right. And now we put all these cul-de-sacs that make it almost impossible for people to move. They have to drive 2 miles to get to a place that they can see from their
And
house.
took away the sidewalks too.
And we're going back to a grid system.
And community and sidewalk and walking.
Exactly.
Like that.
And you put destinations. So all of these things will start to have us. We're reinventing all of these things, and to me that's amazing that we're going back and looking at things that were popular 50 years ago.
And you know something, I've heard also that doing something as little as turning the water off when you brush your teeth.
Oh yeah.
Instead of in the old days how we used to just turn the water on, brush our teeth, listen to the water run, whatever, you know, run our toothbrush under it. I've heard that doing that, something that minor, can really help with energy, with water consumption, etc.
We're very fortunate here, and all of these things add up. We're very fortunate in the Midwest that we have a lot of power. We've had
A lot of water.
A lot of water. We've never had a water. We never really have a
Uncontaminated
water
water yet.
shortage here. We're using surface water for our drinking water supply, and it's never become an issue for us.
Listen, last week I brought up a question, who originally invented the shower? And we didn't... nobody
Didn't
went-
answer it?
Well, you know what? Bethany.
We've been
Bethany
thrown, oh,
Rose.
of course, Bethany.
Maybe
Guess who-
Miles knows the answer.
Yeah, Miles, do you know the answer who originally invented the shower?
I don't.
The Greeks, 300 BC.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Now, we don't know who invented the shower head as we know it, but who invented the shower were the Greeks in 300 BC. You know,
Alfred Hitchcock, 1960, in the movie. I'm not guessing.
Was it called
the shower head? I don't know.
sure, you.
All right.
Holy
You made it
smoke.
popular.
Yeah.
Miles, what
Joking.
else do you have to tell us today before we let you get back to work there at Chicago State University? Close Dave and make him come to this. And then Siggy and I will come too. Siggy will ride out. You guys will pick me up downtown and I'll show you the way.
That'd be great. That would be great. I mean, the beauty of this whole thing is that you'd be able to grill food. This thing would generate the electricity, and it would generate the heat that you would need for the greenhouses and for the warmth of the fish.
And the grow lights.
And it generates the electricity for grow lights, so you can stack your growing. You can either do it like what we're doing at CSU here. Is everything is indoors. They have a building that they have access to that it's not being used, and so we're using our south side windows, but we have no direct sun from over the top. So we're using a specially designed grow light that is an LED light, so that it uses about 20% of the electricity that a traditional metal halide or high pressure sodium would use.
Do me a favor, when you get this up and running, how close are you to having it finished?
We probably will be. We should be finished in 2 weeks.
Good. Let me know.
I usually can only be at it 1 to 2 days a week,
Mhm.
and so we should be actually pretty well finished in 2 weeks. We're ready for fish now. As
Miles,
soon as they're ready.
thank you for calling us. I mean, we called you. That's not what I mean. Thank you for being available to us.
Thank you for having me.
And let me know when I can come and see the facility. Maybe we can combine it with a quickie stop, 5-10 minutes, and show Dave what's going on at CSU, and then jump on the Skyway and zip out to South Gary.
That would be great.
What
I'd
you-
also like to be able to show what's going on at the Community Youth Development Center.
City?
It's in a basement.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
on the south side here. It's in a basement, and we're using grow lights for it, and we're doing aquaponics there.
And it's about the size of this
Very
room,
well.
too, you guys. It's
Yeah,
cool.
it's not
It's
very
cool.
big.
Miles, thank you. Say hi to your family for me. We have to move on, and thank you for always being available with this.
Thank you so much.
One of these days, pal.
All right, sounds good.
Bye-bye. You're listening to the Laura Dion-Jones Show on WRMN. I am Laura Dion-Jones, and if you've got something to say, why not say it? 847-931-1410. And come discover the new you by joining us in our Elgin's Biggest Loser 2 contest beginning this evening, June 2nd at the Taylor YMCA.